Welcome into Between the Pylons. I'm Sean Camacho.
And this is Jacob Waters.
And this is another episode of the Power Rankings Show. Welcome back. Thank you so much for watching. If you are new to the channel, like, subscribe. We really appreciate it. Putting out football content every single week. And today, we're going to do it a little bit different, all right? So we are going to throw the whole Power Rankings on the screen in just a second. But what we're going to do is, after talking about our initial Power Rankings, we're actually going to compare it to what it looked like in week one. We're getting close to the midway point of the season, and I think it'll be really interesting to see where we are now versus how we started the season, and I think that'll be a fun little thing. Before we do that, let's look at the entire Power Rankings right now on the screen, and Jacob, if you will just give me your first thoughts, a team you want to talk about that you know speaks to you right now.
Speaks to me? Wow, that's so
give me a team that speaks to you.
That's philosophical.
Yeah.
So I'll update it real quick and say that we have a new number one. That's expected. You know, the Bills, they played a good game, Monday Night Football to the Titans. Phenomenal win for the Titans. That's awesome. So the Bucs reclaim their spot back on that number one. And we have a new team that we were kind of late to the party, I guess, in throwing towards the top of our power rankings, and it's the Arizona Cardinals. A lot of people, I know NFL, ESPN, PFF, and Bleacher Report, all of those had a unanimous one for the past 2 weeks in a row now, being the Arizona Cardinals. And you and I have kind of always been hesitant to put them up there at the very, very tippy top. So we still, and they're not number one for us. They're number two. But I think it's time that we honor the fact that we've recognized that they've been playing really damn good football for the past few weeks. But, you know, I think both of us are still kind of skeptical in saying that we think that the wheels will fall off of the bus eventually. And I think it's the Kyler Murray-led bus. I don't know how long it's going to go. But with him playing the way that he is, he can take him as far, to Super Bowl at this point.
Oh, absolutely. This team can absolutely win a Super Bowl, and I think we recognized that multiple weeks ago. But I'll go so far as to say you were earlier on this than I was. I mean, there was a point in the season, week 3, 4, 5, or whatever point it was.
Week 4 was the big
one where you were significantly higher on the Cardinals than I was, and I just had not bought in yet. I'm here, and again, listen, I'm still the way we do it. Just to peel the curtain back, we each make our own private rankings, and then we combine them. Right? I'm still lower on the Cardinals than you are, right? Yeah. You're a big reason why they're at number 2 right now. And listen, I stand by everything you said. I do think the wheels are going to fall off. I can't look at that defense and tell you that defense is a top 5 defense in the NFL. Or I would argue that there are 10 better defenses out there than the NFL, just top to bottom. I can't really look at that offensive roster as a whole, top to bottom, not just saying, hey, the best quarterback and one of the best wide receivers. Yeah, of course they have that, but top to bottom, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say they're the best offense in the NFL. So that's been my argument from day one. Obviously, they beat the Rams, but before we started recording, I was sitting here telling you I still think that the Rams are better than the Cardinals. Obviously, in our power rankings, that doesn't show that. And the Cardinals beat the Rams, so I don't really have a leg to stand on there, but there's going to be another matchup, and we'll see how that one goes. I'm still a little hesitant. I absolutely think they can win a Super Bowl. I absolutely think they're a great team. I was high on them coming into the year. Obviously, I had checkered expectations, to say the least, and they have far surpassed that. It's just going to be interesting to see how this goes. Kyler's playing out of his mind. The passing game is working. It'll be interesting to see, how it evolves, and can this be a second half of the year type of team? Because we're seeing, obviously, they have the pieces to be a first half of the year team. Can they bring it into the second half of the year and then even farther into the postseason?
It's hard to look at the way that you evaluate power rankings overall, because for me, one of the biggest things is not just what happened last week, but in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to a Super Bowl odds or Super Bowl favorites, what's going to happen? And there's a lot of websites out there, actually all of them support us whenever it comes to that, in saying that yes, the Cardinals might be the unanimous number 1 or number 2 when it comes to Super Bowl, power rankings. But if you were to go bet on the Super Bowl right now, the Cardinals fall about 7 or 8, which is, to be fair, is where I've had them mainly on my power rankings in saying they're a good football team. But do we really, really think that they are true Super Bowl favorites? No, just because Caesars agrees with us, FanDuel agrees with us, BetMGM, all of the websites out there have around the same odds that the Cardinals are around 6, 7, or 8. And the teams above them, the Buccaneers are number 1, the Bills are 2, Chiefs are 3. The Chiefs sit at 9 this week on our power rankings.
Yeah.
The Chiefs right now are on a skid overall, but they're still a damn good team. And when it gets to those late January games, we know who shows up and shows out. We have yet to see that from the Cardinals. It's a very unproven playoff-wise roster.
Yeah, and I'll go so far as to say there are two teams that I look at similarly as far as an unproven roster as a whole. One, Cardinals obviously far more unproven, but the Cowboys sitting at 6, another team that, hey, we started off the year, and we're going to get to the point where we talk about how we looked at them before the season started, but I feel like have been consistently low on a team that has dominated most weeks and has played really, really well throughout the season, sitting at 6 right now in our power rankings, and has been in the top 10 for multiple weeks now. But I mean, sat outside the top 10 for multiple weeks as well at the beginning of the season. I look at them as another team that's like, okay, hey, they have all the pieces. You can't deny the talent. You can't deny the upside. Is this a team that can be a second half of the year team? Is this a team that can be a postseason team? There's 20-year history now of the Cowboys, not really succeeding in the playoffs. Sorry to say to Cowboys fans out there. And, this current roster, this current, franchise right now, the way it is now and the way it's structured, really hasn't proven anything in the postseason, despite having so much potential and having so much, expectation, I should say.
The Cowboys have always had, that's the burden that you bear when you're America's team, so to say.
Yeah.
And it comes with it. And yeah, they really haven't delivered on that since the Dez dropped it year. So unfortunate that that call didn't go in their favor.
That you bringing it back.
I know, yeah, for real. It's just funny to think about how all that went down. I like Dez too. I'll throw up the X for him. The Ravens. I think we have to give a shout out to the Ravens right now. Lamar Jackson is just playing out of his mind. Honestly, better than his MVP year. I can say that. And this MVP race is really heating up overall. And if Lamar can continue doing what he's doing. But then you also have Kyler doing what he's doing. You have Derrick Henry out there who is on pace right now to break the rushing record in Week 15. Wow. So he's going to break it in Week 15. He doesn't even need the extra game. He doesn't even need the regular season at the going rate that he's doing.
And go to 2K times 2.
And if he does 2K back-to-back, it's just, there's so many different storylines that are, building right now. And I feel like last year we were kind of in the same boat, though, because we had Russell Wilson lighting it up.
Yeah.
We had Patrick Mahomes, of course, as he always was. And then at the very, very end, it was where Aaron Rodgers kind of just, not very end, but, about the halfway point was when Aaron Rodgers, asserted himself and really took it and ran with it. So there's a lot of good storylines going for right now, though.
And speaking of, interesting storylines that we've kind of been keeping up on the other side of this power rankings at the bottom, we have a new team in the cellar. Jaguars get out of the cellar. It's sitting at 32 for multiple weeks in a row now. They are finally out, getting up to 30, beat the Dolphins in a last-second field goal. You got to love the story of a dude who literally came off of the streets just a couple weeks ago to hit not only a game winner, but a game tire.
One of them, too. The 56-yarder or something?
Beautiful. Yeah. He has a good draw, man. It was wild. It was a great play. Obviously, beat my Dolphins. I was unfortunate. Dolphins take another tumble. We'll talk about the Dolphins in a minute. But just shout out to the Jags in general for getting out of the cellar, and hopefully they can build upon that. Obviously, nobody expects this to be the Jags year by any means, but it's good to see that, and good to see some wins under the belt of a guy who has been on the hot seat for multiple weeks now.
Yeah, he's still there, though, because even after the win, there were some players that were coming out and, kind of attacking him in a way. They were saying that, one reporter asked him, it was like, what took so long, I guess? And they asked that to multiple players, and the players responded with the same thing, saying that the practice routine right now is grueling, that Urban is putting them through way too much work, and that the fresh legs. That got said at least 3 or 4 times, the quote, fresh legs. They do not feel like they have fresh legs. They feel heavy when they get into these games, and it shows sometimes when you go back and look at Jacksonville and the way that they've played, they come out fairly strong. Mm-hmm. They have a really good first quarter, formidable second quarter, and then after that, they just fall flat because after they just no fresh legs. They get tired. They played a good Thursday night football game against a good Bengals team a few weeks ago, but they could not get anything going after that and allowed the Bengals to come back. So maybe Urban's listening to some of his players a little bit more, maybe give them a little bit more of a rest, because these are grown men at this point. So you already know what you have. You don't go into practice like you would in college and say, I'm going to find this diamond in the rough. These guys, you already know what these guys are for the most part. Yes, there's still times where so-and-so has some more potential that you want to see, but overall practice is about evaluating your opponent and learning the right game script and what you're going to do and execute on Sunday, not trying to say, I want you to go up against you so you can get and just destroy each other. other.
Yeah,
that's not it.
On top of that, you look at college, and there's a limited amount of training that you get or practice, however you want to say it. Sorry, I've been watching too much Ted Lasso, and there's limits there, and the coaches have to get as much as they can out of each practice. In the NFL, these guys they train all off season.
Yeah.
They train all year. They're never not ready to go. I mean, at least the professionals.
It's their jobs. Conditioning shouldn't be something that you should hold
conditioned
in practice. That should be up to the player who is now $1 million athlete who could take care of himself.
Absolutely agree. Let's take a look before we get into the meat of what we were wanting to talk about here. I want to just talk about one other team that has taken a fall 3 weeks in a row now. The Denver Broncos started off 3-0, looking hot and definitely climbed our power rankings. Now falling down back to earth, 3 consecutive losses here. Interested in your thoughts just on what are the Broncos real?
No, the Denver Broncos were not real. They were not real competitors. We knew this coming into the season. I felt like you and I did, and we kind of got some hate as to why we were so hesitant on putting them up. It was week 3 power rankings. They were 3-0, and yet they were not in our top 10. And I kind of want to take our little bit of a victory lap here in saying that we recognized that they had played the Giants, the Jags, and then the Jets, 1, 2, and 3, and currently all of those teams are sitting, I think it's 30. We have a 32 in the Giants. We have the Jags at 30, and then right in there, the Jets at 29-ish. I'm not sure, but either way, these guys are bottom 5 teams, top to bottom. So the Broncos, no, they have a really good defense. They have an offense with some big hitters here and there, but they're kind of banged up right now, and they're going to fit right in this middle pack in the NFL. And in this division, I just don't think it's going to be able to get it done.
Yeah, listen, I do agree with that. I think I don't want to sit here and completely shit on them, but to me, yeah, they beat 3 teams they were supposed to beat, and then now they've lost to 2 teams they were supposed to lose to, and 1 in the Raiders.
If it's a team that they're supposed to beat, I think they will. If it's a team that it's a very good team, then no, they won't. And then they have this coin flip: 7-9, 9-7. It'll be that kind of window.
It's a classic. Yeah, that's the classic team, and I think you can throw them in there with the Colts, the Washingtons, the Steelers. The Panthers right now, although I was a little bit higher, obviously they're in that same boat of a 3-game losing streak here after a hot start. All those teams feel like teams that are middle, of the pack type of teams. They're going to win some games. They're going to surprise you in a couple games here and there. Can they put it all together in the second half and maybe make a run? It's possible. I'm not going to count it out, but I'll sit here and say that the Broncos, to me, have if not the least exciting quarterback, one of the least exciting quarterbacks, and the least potential, to me at least, to explode offensively. Just because I do think they're capped a little bit by Bridgewater. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's by any means terrible. I think he's a solid player, a top end backup, and a contributing starter in the league. That's how I'll put him. But he's not a guy that I think gives you that wow factor. He's not a guy that I think moves the needle significantly. And when you have injuries on the offense, which you've had, when you have injuries on the defense, which you've had, he's not a guy that I think elevates. I guess I would put it that way. They're going to be sitting right around that range. I think that's fair to say about all those teams. Hey, let's take a step back. Let's go back and look at our beginning of the season rankings. We're going to put that on the board right now. We're going to take our faces off and we're going to compare beginning of the season to right now. So let's break this down into tiers here. Just looking at the top 8, which we have done consistently throughout this show. We've talked about top 8, top 10, the elite teams, whatever. Our top 8 looks pretty close to what our top 8 is now. Obviously, Chiefs fall from 1 to 8 after 7 weeks. That's, going to happen. The Chiefs have definitely underperformed. I don't think anybody really saw that coming. Bucks sitting right in there. Rams sitting right in there. Bills sitting right in there. Packers sitting right in there. And, we were off on the 49ers. They've underperformed a little bit. But Ravens sitting right in there. I'm pretty happy with that. Other than, what can you say? The Cardinals, really the only team that we didn't have in our top 8. Cardinals and Cowboys, which we'll discuss a little bit later. Other than that, pretty proud of our top 8 and how we were able to get in there.
Yeah, the competitors of the NFL, usually you can see based on the offseason and, prior seasons, kind of who has a window, who's ready for it, who's primed. They're good for it. And honestly, going back and looking at maybe how we missed the Cardinals and Cowboys, where it was a thing where we had seen a really bad year with Dak going before we knew what Dak was going to be able to come back and be good.
Yeah.
There was a huge injury concerns there. We had seen what Mike McCarthy was not able to do without Dak. That's where I really look to a coach, in my eyes, to be able to salvage a season. Yes, I know losing a star quarterback is very unfortunate, but you still have a very good roster. I'm talking last year, Dallas.
Yeah.
And he wasn't able to put a good product on the field. So in my head, it just kind of left a sour taste overall. And then the Cardinals, I was looking at the same thing with, we had seen Kyler flash at this MVP level, but I did not think there was a chance that he could sustain this for it going 6 weeks on. And the defense stepping up to the occasion like they did when it comes to that defensive pass rush. They are elite right now, for sure. So I guess a lot of the areas where I had question marks as to why both of us felt like they would be down, we saw it go in the other direction. And then we also have some teams that we missed on, which I would say would be the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah.
Having the Colts out. We bought into the Carson Wentz tea. We bought into the whole Frank Reich and this organization going back to the 2017 Eagles. It just made sense. Their defense kind of fell off a little bit than what it was last year. The defense kept a good team where Phillip Rivers was sometimes giving the ball away. The defense kept them going. Jonathan Taylor has good spurts at time, but it's not taking over like I thought it would. So
yeah, listen, I've been impressed. As a Jonathan Taylor owner, first 3 weeks were tough. Last 3 weeks have been pretty awesome. So I'm going to give Jonathan Taylor the pass.
Ride the wave.
Ride the wave, exactly. But yeah, absolutely. Listen, we bought way too much into a quarterback that we had not seen recent success from, and kind of, we're a little nervous about two teams in the Cardinals and Cowboys. At least I'll speak for me. I knew what. Yeah, I knew what Kyler was, but I also saw the wheels fall off, and at the end of the year, there were some injury issues there. We find out in the offseason, and that's been, I think, more publicized now that we're seeing what Kyler is fully healthy. And then also, I had questions about the scheme in Arizona, so that was another big part for me. And then, he would scheme in Dallas as well was something that really, really scared me. And there was so many concerns with Dak maybe not being all the way ready. There was the weird baseball injury that he sustained in preseason and all this other stuff that kept me a little bit hesitant to put them in that kind of conversation. And 16 was disrespectful, as we see now. 15 was disrespectful to the Cardinals. To have them below a team like Washington, Washington and the Colts are the two teams that's like, okay, we missed. Because I can at least look at thinking the Steelers were a top 10 team, and I can go back to the beginning of the season and see why we thought that, and I don't really have a problem with that.
For sure, yes.
I can go back to the Seahawks and being like, it's Russell Wilson. We knew the defense wasn't going to be good, but we gave Russell Wilson,
his props,
who we thought and still do, top 3 quarterback, top 5 quarterback. Mm-hmm. We thought that offense could maybe, take care of a defense that wasn't good. Obviously, Russell's hurt now, and that is a whole nother can of worms.
Take Russ out,
but I don't blame ourselves for having them at where we had them. Washington and Colts were the two teams that we kind of called our shot on, and we're a little bit off as far as how high we were. We knew with Washington that we were too high, or that we were, kind of bold. Or at least I think we both made our separate rankings.
Was the thought in my head.
Exactly. It was for me as well. We both made our rankings, and I was higher than I thought you would be, and then you came to me and you're like, man, I thought I was going to be the one that was high on him, and that's just how it goes there. Looking at the other side of it, I would like to say the bottom 6, bottom 5, kind of exactly what we expected. No surprises there. You can rearrange the order, which we pretty much do every single week, but those are the same 5-6 teams every week. Bengals are a team that I think have impressed us and have flown up. They're about 10 spots higher than where we had them, 11 spots actually, from the beginning of the season.
Joe Burrow's ability to come back from that injury, and he has the Bengals where I thought he would this time next year.
Yeah.
He's doing everything, it seems like, 1 year ahead of schedule, and right now, Jamar Chase, that whole draft pick, yes, he is a true stud.
Yeah.
And that comes to catching the ball, that comes to blocking. I saw that play where he's just out there having fun.
So let's get back on track here with some of these mid-range teams that we had at the beginning of the season and see where we're at right now. Saints, still a mid-range team. They're sitting at 14 right now. We started the season with them at 17. I'm fine with that. I think that's a team that's going to, they're going to win some games they should win, and they're going to lose some games that they should win. I think that's how it's going to be. Patriots in that same boat. Vikings, I think, are outperforming what we expected, but still close to that same boat. We have them at 13 right now, and they look like they might be able to take that next step. They're looking good. I know you're a fan, so you're exactly. Cautious optimism a little bit. Always. Carolina Panthers, a team that I know I was very high on, and I actually wanted higher on this list. I'm fine with where they are versus where they are now. Obviously, losing Christian McCaffrey hurt them a little bit more than it should.
Changed up the scheme a lot.
It did. It really did. And Chubb was just not able to be that guy for whatever reason. Obviously, we know he's not Christian Christian McCaffrey, but he's not able to really play that receiving running back role the way Christian McCaffrey could, or really the way any receiving running back in the NFL can. I'll put it that way. Dolphins, I skipped over them. They're like the big one that we missed on as far as they're 10 spots lower. The Dolphins are 29 right now, which I would sit here and argue maybe a little bit too low. Obviously, I am a fan, so like I have a little bit of, glass half full goggles on, but I mean, they're 1-5. They're not playing very well. They're 1-5 after playing with a backup quarterback for 3 weeks, so I think that's fair to point out.
Exactly. And Tua came back and was able to get the job, not the job done, but win-wise, but it did look
He
promising.
did look good. He at least
that's
looked
all
good.
I want. I don't even care about the win or loss, honestly. I just want to see a good-looking Tua for the future, if that's what you want to go. But I know you're still on this whole...
I kind of care about a win or loss. I'm not going to lie.
I got you.
I mean, we don't have our first-round pick this year, so we have the 49ers first-round pick. So it doesn't really matter if we lose. Like, I was thinking about that after the loss, and I was like, well, at least we're 1-5. We're going to have a top 10 pick. And it's like... Nope, the Eagles get a top 10 pick for us. Great. All right, let's take it back to next week. We're going to put our week 6, week 7 power rankings on the board, and let's take a look forward. A game that you are the most excited for that's going to say a lot about our rankings next week.
Yeah, give me this powerful matchup of AFC North opponents, and it's the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens. We know what the Baltimore Ravens are right now. Lamar is playing out of this world, amazing football. The defense is playing complementary football. They came out with a stellar win against the Chargers, where I thought it was going to be kind of like it was last week, I guess, where it was just a complete shootout. No, the Ravens defense stepped up to the plate, shut down the Chargers. The Chargers have a lot of good firepower, too. And then we have the Bengals. I'm excited to see this litmus test overall of what the Bengals can give the Ravens, because, listen, if the Bengals come out and win this game, they're tied for the AFC North right now.
They're sitting there at 5-2. They would
They're
be
sitting there at 5-2, and technically
victory,
they would be sitting atop the AFC North, and it's a good division. It really is. You have the Browns, yes, banged up here and there, but I would say that would assert the Bengals right up there with all of them. And I think it would kind of, we would have to reflect in our rankings next week and say, hey, they are just as much here as anyone else in this division right now.
I'll sit here and say right now, if the Bengals beat the Ravens in any fashion, I'm putting the Bengals in my top 10.
Yes.
And I don't know how that'll shake out for our rankings, but I think it'll be close. I really do. A team that, this has been a good matchup for years now. I don't know. It's an under the radar type of game, but Titans-Chiefs, every single time these two teams meet up, it is a good game. I don't know what it is. The way the Titans play, the way the Chiefs play, it's a matchup that doesn't sound like it would be awesome,
but it always is.
It always has been. Titans have gotten a couple in the regular season over the past couple of years, and I'm talking Mahomes era type of years. This will be an interesting one. Titans obviously coming off a huge win against the Bills. They had a tough couple weeks in a row. They needed that win against the Bills because, I mean, they could have very, very easily gotten out of this like 2-game stretch looking at a 3-4 type of situation and looking like a very different team. Now they're 4-2. At worst, they're going to be 4-3. At best, they could be 5-2 and just beat the Chiefs and Bills.
Some good quality wins.
Quality wins in the AFC in a situation where they're probably going to win their division, and they have the potential to beat the two teams that I think we all agreed were going to be the 1 and 2 seed. Mm-hmm. This could be a legitimate, first round bye winning game for the Titans if they are able to win this game and then obviously continue to win the games they should win. It would be huge. I don't expect that. I think the Chiefs are going to come out here and kind of prove a point that they had some early season issues, but they're gonna kind of get back on track. I expect that, but it would be interesting, man.
It would be impressive for the Titans to go off of that Monday night win against Buffalo in a short notice because you have one less day to prepare for it, and really show up and show out at home against the Chiefs. Titans have one of the hardest schedules in the NFL out there, having to play, like I said, the Chiefs, and they had to play, they just played Buffalo, still got to go through the Rams, the 49ers have to come to town, and the Saints. That's not to mention what we got going all on the other ones. It's hard. It's a hard schedule. And the typical Titans teams of late would lose some of those games. But sure. Monday night was one where I think the Titans can turn a corner. They can build on this. And it's one of those games where when you're stacking it up in week 15, 16, 17, saying, like you said, so-and-so wins this, they get the first round bye. So-and-so wins this, they get that. Titans need to show up and show out and win some of these games to prove that they are a giant in the AFC.
Yeah, and man, a first round bye, a Derrick Henry in December. It's serious. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to do that because I do have some serious issues with that defense that I think ultimately will, hinder them late in the season. But man, that would be a big leg up. It certainly would be. Let's end it right there, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, all the good stuff. Check out the podcast that is coming out a day before this video comes out, so you should be able to watch it right now. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.